Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Let's Talk Marketing with In-Depth Podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Webster, and I'm excited to chop it up with you today. Today in episode 137, man, it's getting up there, especially when 2023. This is a very niche, special, specific episode. I got my main man, Kent Lewis, to talk about how to hack your career from like intern to VP. What's up, Kent?
How's it going? Always a pleasure to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. I know we're gonna do our best to keep it under 20 minutes. So in this under 20 minutes, I know you're gonna drop dyers. Oh, that's right. I know you gotta drop diamonds, and it's gonna be fire. That was the dyer that I was talking about. Diamonds and fire. So at the very least, let me at least first say thank you to all my worldwide listeners, and thank you for those that are continuing to tune in for my worldwide listeners all over the world. That's subscribers, supporters. I appreciate you 100%. So Kent, my man, time for you to drop some diamonds. How are you going to bless the listeners today?
So today I want to talk about how to basically growth hack your career if that's something you're interested in, and under the guise or under the pretense that you're probably going to be in corporate America. The shortest way to hack your career is to become an entrepreneur like Nathan or myself. But what I want to talk about is the first roughly 5 years of my career, where I went from an unpaid internship, which was a full-time 40-hour job for 3 months for one check, a single $500 check. So it was not a sustainable career model to basically work for free. And since then, I've effectively refused to not pay interns. I've always paid interns as a result. But I'm an advisor to my alma mater, Western Washington University, and they originally asked me, as an advisor, I'm obsessed with career readiness and career preparedness as you graduate from school, whether it's community college 2-year or 4-year or PhD, I don't care, or you just get out of high school and you're ready to tackle it. Is like, what was my advice if you don't want to spend 10 years in a junior role and you want to get to big dog fast? So I'm just going to share a few tips, and I'll try and move this along. But the first thing I will say, my parents weren't really able to help me much, so I'm sort of proud to say my career has been completely self-made, with one exception, and that is when I graduated from college with a business degree, marketing concentration, my mom said, "Hey, you should talk to a board member for her nonprofit." She was running a nonprofit at the time, and she introduced me to a account supervisor at a big agency. I interviewed with him on the PR side and then a woman on the ad side that he suggested I meet with, and I decided I liked him, so I said I'm going to do PR because I liked him more than I liked her. So my whole career into PR originally was based on 2 interviews and 2 personalities rather than my full understanding of what I actually would do for a living. I did think PR would be more interesting and challenging, the idea of pitching the press to talk about my clients and not paying the press and the client paying me to go pitch stories. I thought it was funky. I've always loved it, still do it. I've used it to build brands. But back then, I basically started with only one connection, and that was my mom referring me to somebody she knew. That's it. So leveraging your network is my first tip. It may start with friends, family, somebody you meet in school, a professor that really likes you, or even a high school teacher. But just those, you only need one introduction to change your career, and that's what happened to me. So leverage your network. Now we have something called LinkedIn. It's been around 15 years or so, and that's the modern Rolodex. That's where you go. So you have to have a complete built-out presence. You have to maintain and nurture your leads and connections through LinkedIn. That's a whole nother conversation. But it starts with the people you know and asking, do you know anybody in this industry or anybody I can talk to, and get those informational interviews going. So that led me to my first internship. My first internship, fully unpaid, led me to my second internship, which was paid. And I moved to Portland. I knew one person, and my cousin, back in 95. I knew nobody else. And I didn't know Portland at all. I'd rarely even visited, maybe once or twice in my life. So moved from Seattle to Portland, and I basically decided to learn PR from the ground up. I had a bit of curiosity. So my second tip is to be curious. Have the curiosity of a 5-year-old. So when I left my first internship, my mom advised me to write a survey and handed over a printed survey to the people I worked with in the PR department. They gave me some great feedback on how I could be more successful in my career. And to this day, I've taken it to heart. So the curiosity helped me learn PR, helped me get feedback on my first internship, helped me secure my second internship, helped me really refine my high-tech PR expertise. But more than anything, that curiosity led to a massive shift in my career when I pivoted from PR to digital marketing, or web marketing, as we called it back in '96, because I was curious about what this internet thing is. The PR firm said, we need help. We're launching this spin-off agency to do web development, which they didn't even know to call it that. And so I volunteered to do pro bono PR for them. I was helping them any way I could because I was interested in what this internet thing was. I had no idea what it could be. But because I was just one sentence ahead in the book, one chapter ahead than everybody else, they're like, why don't you come and be our marketing manager? So that was my third job. I just moved downstairs, and that curiosity led me to a brand new career. And so my third tip relates to that, is to build a network. So again, I moved to Portland, knew one person. So my first paying job at InSync PR, I had met who are now lifelong friends. I've many future clients came out of those partnerships, other friends, other peers. So I never stopped building my network. That's when I started, when I moved downstairs to Vivo Media, the web development shop. I started going to events, IABC, PRSA, AMA, SEMPDX, Portland Ad Fed. These are all short for marketing and PR associations and communicators, where I could meet like minds. And I started to build my rep as an internet marketing kid that knew a little bit too much, and maybe something that I could help a bunch of different agencies and clients with. So building that network, that my third tip, was helpful because I made relationships that then helped me skip ahead. So that the next thing that I did was, through speaking at Vivo in a local event, a guy saw me from another agency called KVO and referred me to the head of the PR department, said, I think you need to hire this guy to do online PR. So interviewed, and I got a job there. So that was my fourth job in Portland. And I moved from basically an intern to an account executive to a marketing manager, and now to a manager of an online marketing manager of this newfangled concept within a PR firm that soon led to a director role within 6 months as I built a team at KVO. None of these agencies are around anymore. They were all acquired or closed their doors after I left. No thanks to me. But what I did learn early on that helped me get that double my salary within 3 years. When I started at KVO, I effectively doubled my salary from my previous job at Vivo by managing perceptions. I built and crafted my brand as an expert in internet marketing. I spoke, I wrote, I started this e-zine called Anvil Media that ended up being the name of my business for 22 years. But I realized that it matters what time you show up as an employee for work. And even though if the job says 8 to 5, I was showing up at 8 and leaving at 5 p.m. on the dot, that my friends in the PR firm were saying, you're never going to get ahead if you work exactly the hours that they tell you to. I was like, really? And then so first thing, when I didn't have the work to stay longer, I would come in at 5 till and beat the senior partners in, and I'd leave after the last senior partner left at 5:15, 5:30, and suddenly I was the hardest working guy. It was all perception.
First in, last out.
Yes, it's all perception. I was no more profitable for them. I wasn't even busier, but I just managed my day. So I looked that way. I'm not saying that complete BS is the right way to win, because I was doing exceptional work, but it helped build some habits that helped me until I went out on my own to understand that people manage you based on perceptions more than reality often. So you need to be aware of that. So that's my fourth tip.
Yeah, and I was going to say, too, for the listeners that may be their first time listening, I never really gave a quick intro background of who you are, what you do.
Oh, yeah. So as you know so far, that I started out in PR and moved into internet marketing, working for other people, and then I started building teams at KVO. But my next step was to go co-found an agency called WaveRock in '99, which helped me understand how to be a business owner, how to run a P&L on a team as a co-founder. That flew big, and it flamed out big after I left. And so by fall of 2000, when I parted ways with that agency, I started my own company, Anvil, named after my e-zine. And for 22 years, I ran my own agency, Anvil. in March of this last year, I sold it to another agency called Dexia out of the Midwest. And now I'm just the marketing guy. I'm chief marketing officer for this much bigger entity of now which my team is a part. So I started out, I had 10 jobs within the first 10 years of my career, but one of those I had for 22 years, Anvil. And now my 11th or 12th job is Dexia, and that's this, if it goes well and have fun, this is where I'm going to retire. So I'm a digital marketer by trade that happened to run an agency, and I've been a part of 10 agencies. I've co-founded or founded 4 of those agencies. So that's
Good.
kind of the sense. And then again, part of this whole thing was as a career preparedness advisor for the marketing department at Western Washington University. One of the entrepreneurs said, hey, we should teach these kids not how to fail and how to follow rules, but how to innovate and how to be entrepreneurs. And so that's why I wrote this article for Think Northwest is where you can find it, and he'll put it in the show notes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So to round out, there are a couple more, 3 more tips or so is step forward and volunteer. I started volunteering the year I landed in Portland, and I just had these low-level jobs. I started tutoring at the Friendship House with kids that struggled with school. Then I did a stint with Big Brothers and Big Sisters. Then I moved in the last 22 years to volunteer and be on the board and marketing committee for Smart Reading, the literacy program here in Oregon. I just did my first meeting of the season yesterday at Boise Elliott. So I'm a big fan of giving back and volunteering, and that has led to some phenomenal partnerships, friendships, and one of my bigger clients was the OSHA Conservancy because of the work we did, pro bono work we did for the Mercy Corps. Those people in nonprofit moved their way up and out, and one of them moved to D.C. and brought us on board with the ocean and nature conservancies, which had large budgets. So they ended up being nicely paying clients, but that was never the original purpose of volunteering. It's a great way to network and learn and build your brand and give back.
Right. And of course, now that would be a little bit different nowadays since we do so many virtual things.
Yeah, so it could be, just attending virtual webinars or events, but donating your time and expertise or learning and honing your skills by giving your time and expertise to a nonprofit that will benefit while you learn and you grow together. That's another way to do it.
So for those that think like everything's online, this is the next level which I know it's getting out of your comfort zone, but it's important that you do go and donate your time and energy to other things and not expecting anything in return. But that is the next level for those that are running like, oh, how can I do it? You've got to take the time out of your day, make the time out of your day and give back, not just expect people to come to you.
Yeah. And Nathan's been, you epitomize that as well. And I've built at Anvil, Formic, and SEMPDX, a trade organization, I built giving back, developed this charity of choice where we give our time and our money to a charity each year. I built it into our articles of incorporation so that everybody, it's those organizations continue to do that even though I'm gone or even not after they dissolve, but I'm carrying that over to Dexia now. And thankfully they're very committed to local communities and giving back. So it's not an uphill battle. The next tip, I mentioned that curiosity of a 5-year-old. I think one thing that separated me from others that are peers in the space that may have taken a different trajectory, maybe more corporate America, is my thirst for learning and being a self-starter. So I would learn things, try things, and not be afraid to fail in small ways. And that's what my e-zine was about, was in 96, I started this weekly text email newsletter that then evolved to a monthly e-zine. And so for 10 years, I had this Anvil e-zine going, and it was a great way for me to have an outlet for my own knowledge and learning, a creative outlet to also hold myself accountable. Like, what have I learned this month? I better write an intro for my monthly e-zine. So it shifted eventually from career to personal fun stuff. As I had my friends that contributed, it was more of a fun thing, but initially it helped me build my career very quickly because important people in our industry were subscribing to my newsletter. So that curiosity, you can not only absorb it, but reflect it out through a podcast like Nathan does, or through a blog or some other format, is share that knowledge, and don't be afraid to just try it. And that relates to that's corollary is become that thought leader. Find your passion, find your red nose, find your fog, as Rudolph would do, and then just shine, right? Show people the light, guide them through. In my case, it's been there are really three legs of the stool for me. It started out in digital marketing, and then it moved into entrepreneurship, and then just into business. And if you look at all our archived shows we've done together on Nathan's show, you'll see Let's Talk Marketing that I've been talking about those three things in rotation. Because you know, you can be an entrepreneur without being a great business person. You might be an artisan in a certain craft, but you may not be good at working on the business. Or you might be great at a discipline, but not a great business person. Or a great business person, but it doesn't matter what the discipline is. That's a thing. Or in your case, or you want to build a bigger business. You're not as entrepreneurial. You want to help somebody else launch a business or take it to the next level. So my last final recommendation is take risks and dare to innovate. I rebuilt my business entirely in 2013. I blew it up and rebuilt it from scratch. It was, 2 years later, it was worth virtually nothing. After I went from a valuation of $7 million down to, $500,000 and built it back up in the following years to be worthy of and attractive to sell. I didn't sell to sell. I sold to change my lifestyle and be more of a laser focused on marketing and not have to, sweat all the payroll stuff like I did for 22 years. So I'm happy, but it was a 22-year journey, or really longer than that. In short, just the first 5 years of my career, I went from full-time unpaid internship to low-paid internship to entry-level executive in PR to a marketing manager to a team leader director. And then when I left to do WaveRock in January of 99, and keep in mind I graduated in fall of 94, by January of 99, I was a vice president. Because when I left to co-found WaveRock, I said, listen, I'm a director right now. If you can give me a VP title so I'm more credible, if this thing doesn't work, at least I have a nice resume. And he said, no problem. So thankfully, it worked out, and we grew a great business together. And then after that, I did my own thing where I no longer cared about titles. Other people do, but I don't. I do actually care about being a CMO so I can go get speaking gigs more credibly, but not for my ego, just so I can do my job.
Yeah, titles are a big deal. But I know we're coming up on our 20 minutes. So for the listeners out there that want to see more of you, want to hear more from you, want to read more from you, where can they find you at on the World Wide Web?
Yes, the best place to find me is definitely on LinkedIn. That's where I live. And to just Google Kent Lewis LinkedIn, or it's LinkedIn/in/Kent Lewis, because I'm one of the early adopters of LinkedIn. That's the best place. Second best place would be on Twitter at Kent J. Lewis. Great resource. And then lastly, just general marketing would be my new home, which is Dexia, DEKSIA.com.
Outstanding. Y'all heard it first. Kent, thank you. I'm sorry, let me finish what I'm saying. You heard it first on Let's Talk Marketing with InDepth Podcast. Kent, I want to say thank you for joining the show. I enjoy all your diamonds, and that's crazy to think of your trajectory, especially when I met you, to where you're at now. That's not the road or the journey I thought you were going to have. Or and honestly, if it wasn't for this podcast, I don't know if I ever would have known that either.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. And so I think everybody can take whatever pace they want, but you don't have to follow rules if you are willing to take the chance to break those rules or bend them to get you where you want to go faster and combine your passion with your key strengths and unique abilities.
Love it. Love it. So I just want to say thanks for dropping how to hack your career, especially this is a new era. So from the timepiece, also just to keep it real, the expectancy, folks have false expectations moving into something. It's not going to happen all at once. It's not going to happen at one place. And I'm sure what you didn't talk about is there's a lot of pain, confusion, sorrow, blood, sweat, and tears that you had to pour into not just your own business, but your growth.
Yes.
All right. So you're going to share the link with me. I'm going to put it, and I'm going to share the link with you all that are listening on the show notes. So make sure you go to the show notes. Make sure you follow Kent. His link to LinkedIn is also in the show notes as well. So without further ado, y'all, if you haven't already subscribe. If you haven't left a review, leave a review. And if you haven't liked or shared, please do so. Until next time, I wish you nothing but the best. So dream big and Godspeed.